So let's bring in Denzen Cortez, standing in for Terry Moran at the Vatican, where the Pope's condition, Denzen, now guarded.
Yeah, David, this is a setback for the Pope after several days where his condition was steadily improving. The Vatican telling us earlier this afternoon he suffered a coughing attack, prompting him to vomit and inhale some of that vomit. Now, doctors rushed immediately to him to clear that material from his lungs, and he was placed on a non-invasive mechanical ventilation, and he is not intubated, luckily, and he's breathing much better. But doctors say these 24 to 48 hours are going to be crucial and critical for the Pope. David?
Denzen Cortez in the newsroom for us. Denzen, thank you.
And David, this nationwide manhunt growing with more attention. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office seeking a governor's warrant for Mangioni's extradition.
Right behind me right now, we got fire explosions on 13th Avenue and Roosevelt Street. As you can see right behind me right now, flames are taking over this building.
Parts of the Midwest, which could impact the busy morning commute. Lindsay?
All right, Denzen will tell people to pack their patience. Our thanks to you as always.
Times Square, New York, where over 1 million people traveling across the world to come to this one destination to start their 2025 off as we say goodbye to 2024.
Que es un producto muy común de Nogales, Arizona.
Camucha.
FBI officials issued 2 flight restrictions in New Jersey specific to Trump Bedminster and Picatinny Arsenal as they further investigate the motive for these drones. David?
Not a lot of things have survived more than a century, but the cable cars have. They survived disastrous fires, earthquakes, but the recovery of the pandemic has been a challenge for 3 years and can only become uphill.
We've seen fencing across tabulation centers specific to Maricopa County. David? The severity of this war doesn't just span across the Middle East, but has affected both the Israeli and Palestinian communities on college campuses.
For many U.S. citizens, this border wall represents protection of the country. But for many migrants here in Nogales and beyond, this border wall represents a barrier to hope.
However, maintenance on their hooves is something that's not always been focused on, making people like George Good carve a new pathway to forge a new generation. Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this busy Sunday. I'm Denzen Cortez. There are several developing stories as we come on the air, but we begin tonight with yet another harrowing ordeal in the sky. An American Airlines flight diverted to Rome after a security threat. We do begin tonight with this major cross-country storm now sweeping into the east at this hour, and it's turned deadly. Good morning. I'm Denzen Cortez, and this morning we begin with a new hit of winter weather slamming into the Midwest and Northeast. Millions of voters, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents will be heading to the polls tomorrow, casting ballots for Vice President Kamala Harris or former President Donald Trump. Authorities say it was inspected and cleared to depart again for Delhi. ABC's Morgan Norwood leads us off from tonight from JFK Airport. China already retaliating. Mexico set to retaliate this weekend. And tonight, how the president responded when the CEOs of America's big 3 automakers pleaded with the president for relief. ABC's Rachel Scott at the White House. Turning to the growing legal battles over the Trump administration's efforts to reshape the federal government. ABC's senior White House correspondent Selena Wang joins us from Washington with the latest move by a federal judge. Good morning, Selena. There's news a boy has been found alive. He was kidnapped in Atlanta when he was just 7 years old. Now he's found alive 7 years later, several states away in Colorado. Here's ABC's Trevor Ault. Definitely. And Max Williams joins us here in the newsroom to give us a preview of the upcoming forecast for the week. Max, tell us what is going on, man.
That's right, guys.
Finally tonight, America's strong, the little leaguers, the little girl, and the lessons for us all. First in the morning, and David, we're right back here tomorrow night. I'm Denzen Cortez from New York. Have a good night. The Queen of Baseball in Queen Creek. Thanks for watching. I'm Denzen Cortez. David will be right here tomorrow. Good night.
In a tiny hillside neighborhood in Nogales, Sonora, the sights and smells of domestic life are everywhere. But these homes aren't for people looking to make permanent roots. They are the ordinary artifacts of migrants, patiently seeking asylum, many from cartel violence. These migrants live just a 10-minute drive from the entrance to the border and just a few miles away from a new life. We met 22-year-old Marisol Sanchez Hernandez, a migrant seeking asylum with her family. She says they left because of cartel violence.
The cartels just threatened us, nothing more, because my husband didn't want to join them.
They live in a single room, no bigger than 84 square feet. She says they could feel the cold wind piercing their uninsulated walls.
We bundle ourselves the best we can with blankets.
Her daughter showing us the bed they sleep on.
For many U.S. citizens, this border wall represents protection of the country. But for many migrants here in Nogales and beyond, this border wall represents a barrier to hope.
Across the border in Nogales, Arizona, government officials understand migrant struggles and say the system has struggles of its own.
I mean, the Washington, D.C. is just ignoring it completely, and right now they're trying to figure it out.
Former mayor of Nogales, Arturo Garino, has reasons to be mad as a recent border bill in Congress was blocked by majority Republicans, which would have moved asylum cases to Homeland Security for a faster review process.
Put it this way, I have Mexican friends across the line that have been waiting for their papers for 10 years, legally. You can't fix them from 2,000 miles away. You have to come down and look at things.
And to those who make it across the border, their journey is just beginning.
¿De dónde? Perú, México.
Those with family sponsors get a ride to organizations like Helping with All My Heart in Phoenix, founded by Cristobal Perez, that will connect them with their families.
¿De dónde? ¿De qué parte de México? Guanajuato, arriba Guanajuato.
We give them backpacks, hygiene products, let them borrow phones to communicate with family, and airport travel.
Perez says they get an average of 2 busloads a day with the possibility of more. They have helped more than 40,000 people since 2022. One of them, Luis, fleeing the corruption in Colombia.
Hopefully the people understand that not all of us are bad. A lot of us just want to work.
Back in Mexico, Marisol and her children hope to be among the lucky ones boarding a bus to the U.S. soon. And against all odds, their optimism for a better life isn't dimmed by a steel wall. Reporting from the southern border, Denzen Cortez, Cronkite News.
It sounds like no other. It's tracks, rolling up the hills of San Francisco's steep terrain, and is proudly displayed throughout street corners.
When you are thinking of cable cars, or San Francisco's cable cars, that's a must-do thing.
Gritman Luis Montaño has been piloting a part of history for nearly 3 decades.
The history alone is just priceless, and that's one thing that my passengers, I try to give them a little bit of information so they're not just going for the ride, so they become part of the ride. So there you're gonna be all sweaty and
So when the pandemic shut down the cable cars for a year and a half, San Francisco's wooden Skyliners were hit with a derailment.
Not a lot of things have survived more than a century, but the cable cars have. They survived disastrous fires, earthquakes, but the recovery of the pandemic has been a challenge for 3 years and can only become uphill.
We're here at our cable car turnaround. It is one of our most sought after destinations for people visiting San Francisco.
The schedules have changed drastically. They were accommodate the lower levels of ridership post-pandemic.
And though the cars have always been popular, the pandemic has caused a slow ridership recovery, resulting in a decrease of more than 30% of trips, according to the National Transit Database. A new reality for drivers like Luis are having to get used to.
It means the ridership is down. A lot of people are not visiting the city, or tourists are not as often coming.
The recovery of tourism has been a bump in the road for the cars, but Luis Montaño is trying to make every ride memorable for each passenger.
So I just try to have fun so everybody can have fun. And there'll be something that they will remember and talk about.
For the Hearst Journalism Awards, I'm Denzen Cortez.